Hey folks, Mackenzie Lambert here. With today being Halloween, I thought it would be fun to mix my love of horror with a love that has gradually faded over the past few years: professional wrestling. Supposedly, we're in a new wrestling boom with WWE and AEW, but I'm just not feeling it. When one isn't happy with the present, they always have the past to go back to. Let's put wrestling and horror together for a Mount Rushmore of horror themed wrestlers. So simple it explains itself. Before I go into my main four, I'll share my honorable mentions. First honorable mention: Kane. Kane, the Big Red Machine, was essentially the 80s slasher killer with a fire motif. Jim Cornette cites Michael Myers from Halloween as the inspiration for Kane. For those early masked years, he was terrifying. As the character quote unquote evolved, he became less scary, and everything that made him cool was taken away: the mask, the backstory, the minimal spoken word. That last mask with the fake hair was the last touch to kill whatever cool factor he had. Next honorable mention: the Big Boss Man. You might be wondering how the Big Boss Man would have a horror connection. Get away from horror as only the realm for the likes of Jason and Freddy. Think of domestic horror figures, be it Glenn Close from Fatal Attraction or Michael Keaton from Pacific Heights. Terry O'Quinn from The Stepfather, another great example. 1999 Boss Man fits that angle. He fed Al Snow his own dog. He terrorized the Big Show and just made a nightmare of the burial of Big Show's father. He messed with people's heads and was one of the more grounded villains in the over the top WWE. And my last honorable mention: Gangrel. This vampire stalwart of the Attitude Era is one of the best horror gimmicks. From the entrance to the music by Jim Johnson, to having an effective finisher in the Impaler, Gangrel was not just horror, but he was cool horror. Alright, now for my main four. First, The Undertaker. The top choice for anyone's horror wrestler Mount Rushmore must be The Undertaker. Ever since making his debut at the 1990 Survivor Series, The Undertaker maintained a consistent presence in the WWF WWE for 4 decades. He reached his horror peak with the corporate ministry angle during the Attitude Era, almost sacrificing Stephanie McMahon on camera. After the American Badass character, he returned to his horror roots for the duration of his career. Next, Mankind. If Mick Foley went with the Vince McMahon idea of Mason the Mutilator, it wouldn't have lasted like the character of Mankind. The character of Mankind, as depicted by Foley, was a true Frankenstein monster, an outsider with a mangled form. Bret the Hitman Hart referred to Mankind as the Hannibal Lecter of wrestling. Given Foley's love of allegory and of being a man of reading, Mankind was given more depth than what was expected or anticipated. Next, Kevin Sullivan. When the Satanic Panic was the moral hysteria of the 1980s, Kevin Sullivan took advantage of it and created his Prince of Darkness gimmick. Soon, he founded the faction of the Army of Darkness in Florida Championship Wrestling. A highlight was the inclusion of Luna Vachon, shaving her head in a ceremonious angle that would be echoed by Serena Deeb for the CM Punk Straight Edge Society spot. And the last one, Abdullah the Butcher. You wouldn't think Abdullah the Butcher is a horror character, but he fits in the grotesque realm of Mondo cinema. Mondo was a genre that focused on exotic locales, bizarre cultural customs, and provocative imagery. Matches with Abdullah would devolve into bloodbaths that wouldn't be out of place in the Mondo Kane documentary or the dinner scene from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Okay, let's go ahead and we have some crowd chime-ins. Here are some of the names that were frequent in an informal survey that I put on social media, and here are some of the suggestions. Abyss. Granted, he was basically Kane and Mankind just meshed together, but, he's a favorite of some people. The Boogeyman. Makes sense. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. I personally lean towards more the Southern cult leader angle for Bray Wyatt. That was my personal favorite. Okay, Cyclope. Okay, on an interview with Chris Jericho, he said this character was called Halloween, but Cyclope is just basically Cyclops. So I don't know where Chris Jericho got that from, but Cyclope, a great look, but he's probably best remembered as when Dean Malenko disguised himself as Cyclope to get the jump on Jericho. Doink the Clown, specifically played by Matt Bourne. Pennywise the Clown as a wrestler. I can dig it. The Great Muta. Now, this is interesting. We're starting to get into folklore horror, Japanese folklore horror. Think of Anibaba as the Great Muta. Jake the Snake Roberts. Traditionally not a horror character, but there is that one moment that I think traumatized an entire generation of children, and if you're around my age, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When Jake the Snake Roberts unleashed a King Cobra on Macho Man Randy Savage, and we all lost our minds over it. Next, we have La Parca, yeah, a Day of the Dead theme, another great Mexican theme. Malachi Black, that Nosferatu entrance speaks for itself. Vampiro, ah man, Vampiro, good look. And if Vampiro had came into wrestling 50 years earlier, we absolutely would have El Santo versus Vampiro in a movie. And the last one, Waylon Mercy. Funny enough, Bray Wyatt cited Waylon Mercy as an influence on his character, but Waylon Mercy himself was taken from Robert De Niro's portrayal as Max Cady from the Martin Scorsese Cape Fear, and he was just absolutely horrifying. Great chime-ins all around, folks. All of them solid, each of them unique. And that'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. Share some of your favorites in the comments section below if any of you felt were neglected. This is Mackenzie Lambert for Mac and the Movies signing off. Enjoy your Halloween, folks.